their defensive numbers. Through the roof. Yes. 104 points to Geelong, to GWS in that round 0, and then 90 to Geelong in their 2 losses. Outside of that, it's like 56, 63, 68, 83 to Freo, and they had to get over that. 66, 53, 46 against Carlton, 45 against Port. They just disarmed offensive. And if you can't kick a winning score against them, you can't beat them. They're doing it so well.
So this is what happened early in the game where they were able to get through. They were able to square this up and find the 45. But in the end, they lull you into a side of the ground. They get you to kick where they want you to kick. And it's just good luck trying to get through. Now, they got through a couple of times in the second quarter from long down the lines, but as the game wore on, it just became a bigger trap.
I think this is the challenge for sides. So you look at that defensive setup, and then you try and overload the open side, so to try and give yourself the switch. So effectively, you're running 2 to 3 players down on the skinny side. So your switch is cut off. You're forced to go down the line to an uneven contest, which allows Collingwood to use the numbers and come back through. So I think sides really need to think about the way that they set up and nearly go, we cannot switch the ball against this side. We just need to go one-on-one down the skinny side of the ground and just compete to give ourselves a chance.
That's why Brisbane, previous to Collingwood being last couple of times, but previous to that, Brisbane had a really good run against them because they essentially just played long down the line.
Yep. Which is how Geelong beat them 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
This is... We'll get to Hawthorn in a moment. So Steele Sidebottom's having an All-Australian year. He's having a possible Brownlow medal. Can you believe it?
Well, he didn't want to rest last week. So this is a luxury they're having. But, I mean, you said it as the game was unfolding. He just does special stuff. And at this age, to be still looking zippy across the ground, never loses his feet, makes really good contest decisions, and certainly the ability to set his teammates into space has always been elite, but he just never wastes possession.
Yeah, my comment was around how in your era through premierships and yours, Brandy, the Indigenous players and the expression that they bring to the game and the way that they can handle time and space, they're tough, and that's what Indigenous players have always done. I've always seen Steele as having an Indigenous mentality with the way that he's played the game. He loves it, he enjoys it, he's got a smile on his face, he can go left and right foot, he's tough, he's hard, he uses the ball in an exquisite manner. And I'd nearly put the Dacos boys in the same category. So when you've got that sort of expression and ability to sort of create and innovate and make something up on the fly, I think it has a tremendous impact on your ability to cut through an opposition's defence. And Collingwood is showing that more and more, and Steele's been at the forefront of it.
He's a veteran, and I think the most dangerous thing, we saw it with Geelong in 2022 when they banked the wins early, and then they were able to manage their senior players at the back end of the year. Now, it's not going to be an exact plan mapped out from now on, and they'll be able to go a bit week to week, but there's no doubts the more of these wins they have, they can start to think, okay, well, let's be smart about this. Let's be strategic. So Jordan Lewis spoke to us pre-game, didn't he? He said, well, the boys kept winning. Maybe I can take a little bit extra.
Right. Was he discussed during the week?
Who's that?
Did you have a meeting during the week?
With who?
All-Australian meeting?
Oh, yeah, we did.
You thought you were talking about Tasmania.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I thought that was a secret. No, there was quite a few, I tell you. Our finger-licking good player was thereabouts. So there's and he didn't do his chances any harm.
He should be. Right, let's turn our attention to the Hawks a bit. Jack Inovan early in the game was lively, and we spoke about him at half-time and the match-up that they were just having a bit of trouble trying to work out who was on him at various stages. This is when they played their best footy, when they're moving the ball, at an angle, and they're finding some space, making the forward line big, and then a Collingwood defence. When the ball movement isn't predictable, it's harder to defend. So here you just come off the line a little bit. You see Nick Dacos has gone down the line to defend a straight kick, and it comes inside, and Jack was playing smart, opportunistic, sort of small forward footy at this stage.
Yeah, he was. He's getting up the ground, though. We've seen him be able to do this. He's got this capability. He can get up and almost get up to half back, but if you get a quick transition, your team can move it. There's going to be space out the back, and he's smart enough to get into the right holes, and then he was able to take his opportunities, especially in the first half. But, the things just dried up. Yeah,
halfway through the second quarter, it was looking real good.
First 40-odd minutes, wasn't it?
I think he loves the stage.
He does love
the stage and an opportunity to, to stand up when everyone's sort of watching him.
I think the Hawks will be obviously the Hawks will be another talking point. I know we've got to get to another player, but the Hawks will be another talking point throughout the week. But they've played the top 3 sides. That's a very rare occasion. Played third on the latter 3 weeks ago in the Suns. They were gallant up at the Territory. I think they lowered their colours, no doubt about it, to Brisbane last week, but they were completely dismantled tonight against Collingwood.
Yeah.
So their game is not where it needs to be to challenge top 4 teams at the moment. And Sam's
another one next week.
Another one against Melbourne, a resurgent Dogs Thursday night. So Collingwood plays Melbourne. So they've failed the pressure test.
Yeah, they have. They got some stuff to sort out, no question about it. James Sisley was a topic of great conversation through the week, and again tonight. He started in defence. He went initially to Myercheck, but rolled over quickly and Hoskin Elliott. He was okay. This was his moment. That was magnificent, that running with the fly, punching the ball over the back. But then he went forward after half-time and he didn't impact at all, really. He took a mark or two, but didn't have a big say in proceedings. So his run of form is just below where it needs to be, but he wasn't on his own.
He go forward early, didn't he?
Yeah, at the end of the first quarter, he finished up in the goal square. Yeah. Then after half-time.
Did he say he did look sore? He did look sore, didn't he?
He did look sore at the end of the first quarter, but I'm sure that neither he nor the rest of the Hawthorn Football Club will be using it as an excuse. There's a lot of sore boys out there that are still performing well. He's been speculated on heavily. It won't go away until your form turns.
I wouldn't have liked to be a defender tonight, though, in the Hawthorn defence. Like the way that Collingwood were able to turn the ball over and then go back through transition to a really vacant forward line. That would have been tough, really tough.
And you wouldn't have had much peace with the amount of pressure that was coming through there.
It is a difficult situation, though, just because we've been skippers here, and if you're going through your own form, right, it's really challenging, isn't it?
No, 100%. Yeah. And I guess you got to work out what he's going to be. Like,
you think that's a real problem?
Well, I speculated pre-game whether he goes to Elliott, right? So whether that's a matchup. If you go to the skipper and say, OK, defend Jamie Elliott, like it's a tough ask. They went to Josh Battle. Now, is Josh Battle more athletic than James Sisley? Not if he's not carrying an injury, which they tell us he's not. And Elliott kicks 5. Sisley has no impact. So I don't know whether he's just got to make a decision whether he goes back to defend just one-on-one and use that as a starting point. But as I said, he's not on his own. There's a few players out of form tonight. Now, there's a couple of interesting ones. Let's go to Johnny Ralph from an injury point of view. So, Ralphie, the Magpies are going to be down a couple, and then we'll get to big Lloyd Meek.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, Lockie Schultz was really sore in the rooms, and I know that the coach, Craig McRae, said we hope it's only a low-level hamstring, but look, he was really hobbling. So he suffered the first hamstring of this season in the days after the Carlton game. He missed 3 weeks. He came back. He was really good. Got concussed again. But you'd imagine there with King's birthday coming up on Monday week, and then a bye. Look, you'd imagine they'll build him up really slowly, and you'd think he might miss 4 or 5 weeks. They'll get him right. He's in fantastic form, but they're not going to risk him. That has been the policy across all of their star players this year. So Lloyd Meek, the problem is that he's spoiled on Pat Lipinski. It was late and it was high, and it doesn't really matter whether it was caused by that late fist to the head or it was caused by Lipinski's head hitting the ground. He is responsible for all of that contact. The concussion really is only relevant if it was a reportable act, but I do think it's late enough for rough conduct. So the concussion means it has to be 3 weeks. It has to be severe impact. Now, if Lipinski gets up, that's probably a low-level $1,500 fine. I think all of us understand that is a real flaw in the system, but that is the system that Michael Christian has to operate under. So I think he's in strife there, guys, even though, Bucks, you in particular, have talked about an outcome-based system. It's only relevant if it is a reportable impact, but I think it is, and then the second part of the system kicks in. It's really unfortunate, but I think that's what's going to happen.
All right, discuss, panel, and bear in mind that we're off here at 12 o'clock.
Well, if the outcome in terms of a concussion is reached and that becomes a 3-week penalty, well, then that should trigger the AFL to come out and make a change to the way that they legislate against these actions, and there should be something in between nothing and 3.
Well, they had that
and
chance.
It should be done now.
They had that chance with the chase down tackle.
They can do it any time.
Who was that player that got the 3 weeks?
Is it
North Melbourne Curtis? They had the chance to legislate then.
Is there a chance now with a new football boss coming into the AFL?
Just because you've made mistakes in the past doesn't mean you need to make them.
Well, they change rule interpretations mid-season, so why can't they change this with the tribunal?
So are you suggesting that this is a 1-weeker?
If anything.
If anything. So do you think he shouldn't be suspended at all?
I think it's 0 or 1.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that.
But it seems like at the moment, the conversation we're having, it's 0 or 3.
So he's responsible for the concussion. He got there late, so there should be a penalty. I think.
Yes.
Right. That's what I think.
I would be happy with that. I would agree with that.
Now the problem is, which we've discussed, since Paul Curtis, is the 3 weeks is a non-negotiable, which I think we've all got an issue with.
The players should be allowed every right to try to make an attempt on the spoil. Now, because I think it's unfair to be expecting players to be absolute perfect decision-making when you've got to be 10, 15 metres away. Now, I'm a bit more in your camp. Like, I'm happy enough for him to have a sanction, but it shouldn't be 3 because that is a player just genuinely doing his best for the team to get there and make a spoil. And we saw plenty of spoils by the Collingwood players tonight where they just timed it perfectly.
I think that's a good point. I think he was genuine in his attempt, not malicious. He got it wrong and shouldn't pay a 3-week price for getting it wrong. That's where I think it sits.
Well, and that's why it should get changed, because I'm just concerned that... Now, look, obviously we are concerned about the player that gets concussed. I'm concerned that we'll lose a player. This will happen in the first week of a final or the second week of final, and a player will miss a grand final when the whole footy world is going, that is unfair, but the rules are the rules, the AFL will say.
Well, it's
so
Lee's
we have
point.
to spend him for 3 weeks.
It's Lee Matthews' point.
Yeah, he wants the reckless.
Exactly that. I don't think anyone would... Yeah. I don't think anyone would... argue the point if it was 1 week, because you have to be... There's a level of responsibility, but 3 weeks is just ridiculous.
The Friday night footy panel is calling for the change to be made now.
Well, show leadership. Andrew Dillon has showed tremendous leadership during the week. Continue on with that leadership and just go, bang, captain's call, this is what we're doing. The whole footy world agrees with it. There's not one person out there that is saying it should be 0 or 3.
No.
Have you heard anyone say that?
No, I think it's fair, and let's see what comes of it.